friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. Today is a very special episode.
Who are we, Jen?
Who are we? Oh, I'm Jen.
I'm Levi. And joining us on air for the first time is our event organizer / community manager, Golden Abby or Janelle.
Yay!
Oh, wow. We harmonized on that.
That was great. Many of you, or maybe all of you, if you're on the Discord, are familiar with Golden Abby. She handles all of our group runs, the coordinating, and they run Baja shit all the time, and just generally coordinates our stuff. And she's a valuable asset to the Pod Return team.
Asset.
Yeah. And she's like, on a road trip, and she's chilling with us today, and so we're having her along because today, like we said, is a very special episode.
Before we go for too long, today we are doing a one-off special episode where we're putting together a survival guide of sorts for new players and or free trial players.
So this is probably, if you've just listened to episode 1, so we were new podcasters then, and the structure gradually evolved. So this is probably going to sound a little bit different than the first episode that you're used to. Like, there's no pattern there. But we're doing this basically like 3 years in, and it was brought up to us by a listener via email, I think. They're a free trial player, and they were very new, and they're like, how do I do this? And we're like, you know what? Let's tell people how to free trial and or be a brand new player. Like what to focus on.
Yeah.
How to play. We're going to tell you how to play. Not really. You can play this game however you want.
Also true. Before we get into it, Janelle, any first words? Any introductions?
No, I'm just here hanging out and going to be excited about talking about new players and free trial things. And it's really weird running ARR again on Alala in the current expansion.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing. And I forgot how long ARR takes to get through.
Jesus Christ, yes.
A long time.
It took us 2.5 years.
I hope to not be doing this for 2.5 years. I've been doing this in the main. Oh my goodness.
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Well, if you do one chunk of content per week, it'll take a while.
So I need to make a second podcast. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. You just like follow it up, the Shadowcast.
This changes has happened since we did this episode
Correct.
3 years ago.
Yeah,
That's what we have to do.
So as a caveat today, this is not meant to be an exhaustive list of everything there is to know and not know. It's more of a push in the right direction, hopefully, as you figure out the game. So without further preamble, unless you had more preamble, Jen.
I guess maybe. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. Because, again, if you're a brand new player, you're probably thinking that maybe you're a little intimidated by all the content. I know I was. It was my first MMO, so that's already an intimidating prospect.
Same.
See?
Yep.
So knowing, like, what should I only be focusing on story? How important is side stuff? Do I need to do stuff with other people? It's a lot. So let's help you out.
All that and more.
Yeah.
Well,
and
without further preamble, let's get down to it. First, let's go over what you can and cannot do with a free trial. Most people will probably begin here, and the trial has a lot of content in it. Jen, you and I hopped off the trial train pretty early on because we were playing together, and you cannot group up intentionally on the free trial. The main limitations are, in fact, social as far as the trial goes.
Yep, and also economical. But the limitations were enough, and this may vary by person. They were enough for us to be like, nope, we're gonna pay for the sub. Yeah.
So going down the list, you can level up to, but not over, level 70.
Which is really, I mean, it is a limitation technically, but like there's so much fucking game up to level 70.
Yeah.
So that's not a deterrent. That's so much game.
This is the level cap as of the Stormblood expansion, which of course is where the free trial ends as of now.
Yeah, next patch it'll be through fucking Shadowbringers.
That's going to be a lot of game.
I know, right?
So much game.
I was like,
And that'd be without spoilers. That's a rough thing to end a free trial on.
See, maybe that's brilliant, because when you end Shadowbringers, you're like, how am I not supposed to continue this game? It just,
Next restriction, you cannot use shout, yell, or tell.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
That's a plus.
Yes, please. Can we revoke that for more people, please?
Yeah.
So shout and yell are like the chat channels in like cities and so on where there are lots of people. So you cannot spam your gold farming ads on the free trial, sadly. And tell is like DMing another player. So again, you just don't have these social options, but this will not impact your ability to talk to teammates in group content.
Correct. Can you still say?
You can say, and you can use party and alliance chat.
Okay.
More on that later on, but these are the chat modes you use when running content. So again, it's purely a social restriction.
And I don't think you can create a friends list either with a free trial. I think you can't, from that same kind of way, you can't add people into like a friends or contacts.
Probably not.
No friends. Yeah. Can't have
friends. Womp womp. Sorry, people. I'm not your friend anymore.
Next up, you cannot create parties. Parties are the way that you team up in group content. You cannot form a party as a free trial player, but you can join other people's parties. More on this later too, but as you're running group content, you do not, in general, need to actually make a party, so this is less of a restriction than you might think. The only time this might matter up front is if you have a friend, like Jen,
hello,
that you want to join your party, but you cannot invite her.
And when I started with the free trial, I played solo. And so I started after Endwalker when they had switched a lot of those MSQ dungeons and things like that so you can play solo.
Yeah.
So the only time I ever played with any other players was with Duty Finder or the Alliance raids. And then when I started Heavensward, and they're like, by the way, you have to go and do...
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to play with other people?
Oh,
what?
God. That was the thing that scared me the most, is having to play with other people, because we all know what hell is, right? No, this community is fucking awesome. But still, like, it's intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
But it's also just testing it out, because it was my first MMO. So I kind of assumed that there was the stigma of the crazy, poisonous WoW stories that you hear about.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be the asshole that doesn't know what they're doing, and you're not the only
I am
person.
that asshole that did not know what they're doing.
Yeah. But everybody's like, oh my God, hey, do you need some help? Like...
Wait, you're healing in RM Vale? And you have no idea what you're doing?
Oh my God, bravo. Yeah, most of the time people are going to be supportive and impressed.
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
All right, next up, you cannot join free companies, or form them for that matter. Free companies are the name for guilds in this game. They're essentially player-based organizations. They are not required to do any content. It is just a social tool once again.
There are other perks with the free companies. I think it was discussed in a previous episode.
But not in our timeline.
Oh, that's true. Not in this timeline.
Yes.
We're in an alternate world right now.
Exactly. We're in the past.
So there are some really nice perks with the free companies that help with the many other things, but they're not necessary for your day-to-day gameplay.
No, it's just like a creature comfort thing. A lot of people have friend groups, IRL, and they'll form an FC so they can game together and have buffs and a house and stuff like that. Other FCs are just really, really big, and it gives you some everyday buffs. It makes teleporting cheaper. It'll give you extra XP when you're crafting or gathering, or just more XP when you're battling or whatever. There's these little buffs and things. And then you got the company chests, which are full of goodies. If you need a particular die, your company chest might have that die, or a free minion or whatever. It's just it's kind of great. You've got a bunch of people all combining resources, which is really awesome. And if you have a house, then you can dye your chocobo. There's all of these things that unlock when you get an FC, but again, it has no bearing on gameplay at all.
But I did use the FC to build my house, my beautiful, gorgeous Moogle house.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you could build it, or you buy all the pieces off the market board.
Yep. Mm-hmm. God damn. Yeah. So, free trial is bare bones, man.
Hardly.
I know. We're going through all these things that are super cool.
Yes. Well, the game is cool. Spoiler.
Spoilers.
The first big mechanical hit here is that you cannot have more than 300,000 gil as a free trial player. If you're new to Final Fantasy, gil is the name for money. And as a point of reference, a quest may award like a few hundred to 1,000 or so gil. 300k is a fair amount, but it's also not a lot in the end game sense. So,
gosh, no.
Up front, you will only spend money on like repair bills, which are cheap, and teleportation fees, which are cheap. Those will run you a few hundred to 1,000. So you're kind of playing with small dollars at the beginning. That cap will not matter for a while. However, what will affect you is that you cannot also use the market board, which is the way you sell and buy things from other players. And you cannot use retainers, which are the tool by which you can sell things on the market board. So you are kind of denied the in-game economy as a free trial player. And you can make a lot of money up front by selling like beginner items, because a lot of things are still useful even for later players as a beginner. So you find some, crafting material drops. You don't care, but you can sell them for some dollars.
That's like the best way to really, really make some money, is being able to have a retainer. A retainer is like a personal valet. And they go and do hunts on your behalf, and they'll bring back mats for you. So if you're a free trial player and you're really getting into crafting and gathering, you're going to have to gather that shit on your own.
Yeah, you can do crafting and gathering as a trial player, but it seems like a nightmare because crafting is so resource intensive. Plus, you make your effort back by selling it to players.
Oh, man.
So you're going to be crafting for yourself if you are a trial crafter.
Yeah, you can still do it. It's just, God, if you need some stupid mat that's maybe in an area you haven't unlocked yet, and you got to get it somewhere.
Well, I mean, I actually did. I got my crafters and gatherers up to 50 on the
Wow,
trial.
Congrats. That's impressive.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing. I was doing a lot of that kind of growing and building and things like that. So I didn't notice the lack of market board. I just found it very grindy. I didn't even know the market board existed.
Yeah, which is amazing. That's amazing. And honestly, some of us really enjoy the grind.
Yeah.
Like I'll go out and I'll spend a whole day gathering and stuff. Like it's fine.
As far as money goes, you do not need big dollars until you reach end game. You don't need to have current gear or other high cost items until the end game. However, you will have less money than otherwise if you do not have the full subscription financial tools, being retainers and the gil cap obviously removed.
Yeah. I mean, the game is pretty good about, it's not pretty good, it's really good about just giving you the gear that you need. If you're looking for best in slot, well, pay for the sub. Otherwise, you're fine.
But best in slot in ARR and Heaven's Word really doesn't matter.
No, absolutely not.
No, it really doesn't.
Jesus Christ, no.
You really don't need to worry about materia and things like that as much. Unless you want to sell it, because then you can still make some. But you can't because you're on the free you're in free trial. Never mind.
Side note before we proceed, A Realm Reborn, or ARR as has been referred to so far, this is the name for the starting game, as in the beginning Final Fantasy XIV chunk of content. And Heaven's Word is the name for the first expansion. Next restriction, Jen, you cannot do any PvP on the free trial.
Oh, yes!
No.
Oh, so happy.
Gosh darn, what am I going to do without PvP?
As you can tell, this may be a blessing or a curse, depending on your preference. It is not required, obviously, though it is a full game mode, and there are PvP-specific rewards, so you cannot indulge in those until you subscribe.
All right, full disclosure, I have opinions about PvP, as in, I don't like it.
Weird.
However, some of the gear is real good.
Yes.
And I put in my time with Crystal in Conflict so that I could get one particular Black Mage weapon. And that's it. I got in, got my shit, and left. But they really entice you with some of that stuff. Oh, the gear, some of it's really cool looking.
They also bury some emotes in there, and they also bury mounts.
Yep.
Testers.
So yeah, and those things may never come back, because it is incentivizing people to do each season.
Yep, that too.
And when Jen says, like, good gear, she means cosmetic, just to clarify.
Yeah. Not best in slot kind of stuff, but just, like, cool looking.
Be mechanically worse off for not having done PvP. It is just about looking cool.
Yes. And,
and there's other ways to look cool, like that nice Dragoon outfit you get in Heaven's Ward.
Yeah.
The belly window?
Yes. I rocked the belly window at that time.
On a Lullafell, it's the best. They're little belly.
Oh, Golden was a here when she first started.
Oh,
So, yeah.
So that's pretty sweet. Guys.
So yeah, but I end up changing because riding a mount like the unicorn, they ride side saddle apparently, and I'm going as a dragoon, dressed as a dragoon, riding a horse side saddle. And as soon as I saw a Lala and a Makote that were like riding it normal, I was like, I'm changing.
Yeah,
there goes the Fantasia.
I'm gonna ride a horse normally. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. I clocked it, and then when I saw my friends playing that way, I'm like, oh no,
I'm the weird one.
So those are the main restrictions in terms of gameplay that you will run into before you subscribe. But it's also worth talking about what you can do under the free trial, because there is a lot that you can do, which includes playing the main scenario quest, or MSQ, up through the Stormblood expansion. First question is, what is an MSQ?
Oh, it's the main story quest. Yep, nailed it.
So the MSQ is the real kind of bread and butter, as the saying goes, of this game. This is what you're here for. If you're not, I am surprised you're playing it, because this contains the story and the experience. This is how you unlock new game features, new game areas. The MSQ and Final Fantasy XIV are inextricably linked together. And you can engage in all of it again up through the main game plus 2 expansions. Speaking of, unlike other MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV is largely a single-player MMO. Most of the time when you are playing through the MSQ, you will be on your own. There is no real way to group up with other players for most of the content. You will team up from time to time on dungeons and so on, but you can go at your own pace, and you can expect to be doing your own thing while you're doing MSQ.
I mean, yeah, if you are intimidated, like I was, by the prospect of playing with strangers, this game is pretty well built to let you just play alone and play with NPCs on some of the group content. If you just like, I don't want to deal with other people, it's great. You can do stuff with other people all the time, or you can do it solo. It's like they understand introverts play the game.
I also want to emphasize that this is really the meat of the game too. There's not really like a glowing paradise at the end of the game. Once you run out of MSQ, you may end up feeling a bit like empty in a sense, because you have had so much to do and so much to drive you forward. The point is, don't try to rush to the end. It'll be there when you get there. There is plenty of activity in all levels of content. If there's some like current end game mode, it'll still be there. People will still be playing it even after more expansions drop. So enjoy the story and the experience while it lasts.
Yeah.
It's not like a hurry up and get to the end type game.
Absolutely not. You will be doing yourself a disservice if you try to rush through the story at the expense of all other content. It's just not worth it. And like Levi said, it will be there. There will be people in it. I don't think there are really any dead zones in this game. I mean, maybe here and there, but then you can just get some friends or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're paying for the sub, finally. Yeah.
You can also, in the free trial, you can level all of the jobs available through then to level 70. These jobs are Paladin, Warrior, Dark Knight, White Mage, Scholar, Astrologian, Monk, Dragoon, Ninja, Samurai, Bard, Machinist, Black Mage, Summoner, Red Mage, Blue Mage. And you can also, as mentioned beforehand, level all of the crafting and gathering jobs. So that is a lot of jobs. A job, for those who are brand new to this game, this is what this game calls a class, as we might say in more, quote, Western games. Same difference.
Yeah. And also there's different ways to level the jobs, and doing it through Duty Finder, you get the experience points based upon the bosses more than the mobs. So if you're used to the more traditional JRPG grind of just go out and kill all the random encounters, that's not the way to level in this game.
Yeah, if you're killing mobs for XP, you're doing it wrong.
Unless you're Blue Mage.
Unless you're Blue Mage, which
that's a later episode.
Yep, its own special case. So this is not a grindy game. This is a game that gives you buckets of XP when you engage in group content, and levels come very fast. The main experience is about like the story and the content, not about like camping out for 10 hours in a zone, killing mobs endlessly.
Yep, and having done the leveling the crafters and gatherers to 50 on ARR content, that will use up a lot of your saddlebag and your inventory space without retainers.
Oh my God. Oh,
yeah.
The inventory management.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like, you definitely don't buy anything. You don't keep anything you buy from NPCs. You get rid of it as soon as possible. You gather as much as you need.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it was wild going through all that.
That might be the thing that tips you over into actually paying for a subscription, is because you literally don't have any inventory space for all your stuff. That's why you need retainers.
It's also what you'll end up doing is paying more money to get more retainers because you want to keep all the things.
Absolutely. I've got 4 retainers now, so I'm paying $6 a month.
Goodness.
No.
This is purely optional for glamour hounds, by the way.
Also,
it is.
I just
we'll get into that. Yeah.
You get all these mats, and I'm like, as soon as I get rid of them, I'm going to need them.
Then buy them again.
No.
You buy them, use what you need, and then resell them on the market board. But wait, that needs a subscription.
Yeah. That's like the best though, when you buy like a stack of like animal skin and they're like, $40 a piece, and you used your shit and you want to sell the rest back, and you sell them at like $45 a piece. Boom, profit.
Well, you just covered the tax on the market board. Is all you really did.
Yeah, Jen,
maybe by the time you're done, the market has gone crazy on this animal skin that you got, and now they're selling for like $150 a piece.
Or it's tanked, like from the current field ops that's going on. But we're not here to talk about
it. No. But in that case, you put that on your retainer for a later time.
Fair.
Yes.
With a subscription.
At any rate, so that's all the things I think are worth talking about for the free trial specific players. Any final comments on the trial, or hold your peace?
No.
There's always more to talk about. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But no, we're trying not to scare people, right?
Correct, Jen.
I feel like this is already, the things that we've said that you can't do on a free trial is already like a lot.
And honestly, a lot of that stuff I didn't even notice when I played my free trial. I didn't even know it was there. Like, it was hinted at, It was mentioned, but it doesn't lessen the experience of the free trial player.
Exactly. Despite us saying all of these glowing things about the things that you aren't allowed to do on a free trial, still, it affects you not at all. I mean, you have such just a full experience already. So, whatever. For real, it's still good.
Yeah. For basically, if you are doing the free trial, Square Enix has it set up in a really kind of funky way. You have to actually go to the free trial website and not do the 30-day free trial from the Square Enix store site.
Pro tip. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's that gets a lot of people in trouble when doing free trials because they don't realize there's a separate thing for that.
We will put the current day link in the show notes.
Aw, sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. Because it has changed maybe a smidge.
So next up, onto character creation. I'm guessing that most people who come here have already made their character, though there have been some people who have listened first and then subscribed or played later. So just for the brand new people here, let's talk briefly about character creation. This is just stuff you need to know before going into the game for the first time, and actually there are very little in the way of binding decisions you make in character creation. One of the perks of this game is that it's not going to ding you in 100 hours for having made a small mistake at character creation. Feel free to make a choice and then change your mind later on. You have the option to undo most of these decisions.
With Fantasia.
Yes. The first thing, of course, is character customization. Just note here that your race and appearance are purely aesthetic. Go with what you like. There's no reason to min-max this decision.
And you can also create up to 8 different characters on one account. And you can have them on different worlds, different data centers, all those kind of things. But the cap is 8. So you can have one of each of these races.
And they have no effect on stats. They show you stats.
Yeah.
But they do not matter at all.
The starting stats,
don't look at them.
These are pennies in the scheme of the game.
It really doesn't
No one
matter.
will try to say Lala's only for rogues or whatever.
Nope.
No one cares.
Nope.
Play who you want.
It's about your gear, frankly. That's what matters. But
and the emotes. And the emotes.
And the emotes. Yeah. So, I mean, look up some YouTube videos if, the Lala high five is better than...
Or like the male Makotes being able to squat, that kind of thing.
Just whatever it is that you want to do gesturally in-game, that's a factor.
The only free trial ding, I think, is that you cannot make a Viera or Hrothgar, I believe, as of now.
Oh.
Those were not introduced until Shadowbringers.
That makes sense.
And then the female Hrothgar is Dawntrail.
But you can Fantasia into them later on when you subscribe. So a Fantasia is the name for an item that lets you completely recustomize your character appearance, including race. So you can go from like a cat boy to a little Lala lady, whatever you want to. You will get at least one Fantasia for free through the course of the game. They tend to give you freebies whenever they do like a big aesthetic change. So I've gotten like 3 or 4 so far for free just through the devs putting out like a do-over option.
You're not locked in is the short story there. So, follow your heart. And then when your heart goes someplace different, follow it again there.
If you want more than the game gives you for free, you can pay real cash money for more changes.
Yeah, on the store, if you cannot wait for the next free Fantasia, you can buy them, and they're what, $10? I think $7 to $10.
It's a bit of a racket, but
100%. But it's available.
It is available.
Yeah, you can buy them in like sets of 3 or 10.
Yeah.
You can just like pocket them if you need it.
Honestly, it's economies of scale. Buy more, save more.
And also with a Fantasia, especially if you finish A Realm Reborn and you get that Fantasia and you want to try it, they do have it set up where you use it and you go into that character creation screen and redo your character. It gives you an hour-long window to in-game, if I remember right, an hour-long window to like, okay, I've got my character made. Oh, I don't like how they actually look in the world.
Right.
So then you can go back to that screen and redo it again.
That's so nice.
So it's a handy thing to have where you're not then feeling like you have to go spend more money on more Fantasia.
Yeah.
That is the absolute worst feeling.
If it's just like a matter of like, I don't like this hairstyle, you do not need a Fantasia for that. There's actually an in-game mechanic where you can change your hair. And that costs game gil and not like real money.
Yep, and it is cheap.
So yeah, it's like 2,000 gil,
yeah.
I think. So if you just want to change your hairstyle, then that's easy. I've done that a number of times. I've done that like, you get your new character and you get your new character hair or whatever, and then you play a little while, and then maybe you get up to level 50 and you're like, you know what? My character's more mature now. My character needs a more mature haircut. And then you do that to mark those milestones as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main binding decision that you will make as a beginning character is your starting job and city, mainly the city. In this game, you can play as any of the jobs that you want to. You can change at will unless you're in combat. You can change to, from Dragoon to Monk to Black Mage to Carpenter at your leisure. There's no penalty for doing so. Do not feel like you need to pick a job up front that is perfect. You can change your mind, and most players will, or many players will, level all jobs to level cap over the course of their game playing career. It is easy to level new jobs, so do not worry about making the perfect choice just now. However, your beginning job will determine your starting city. So there are 3 starting cities in the game, and each job maps to one of those cities.
Everybody should pick Ul'dah.
No, Limsa. No. I really, you want to meet Merlweb really early. You really do. Got to get that out of your system immediately.
You're not wrong. Merlweb, she's like, okay, there's like the president of each city, right? Merlweb
is the president of Limsa.
Yeah. She's fucking awesome.
Oh, she is. And she's feisty. She has got a great outfit.
So fucking cool. She's got dual muskets and like they have names.
They got names.
Like Death Sentence and like Annihilator or something. One of those. She's total badass. However, Ul'dah's still the best.
Opinions may differ, but just know that your starting city affects a few minor dialogue options and so on over the course of the game, mainly up front, less so in later content. It also has a unique storyline that goes up through level 15. So after level 15, the stories merge and you all have the same track essentially with all other players. However, you get a unique city-specific storyline based on your city of choice. The cities are Ul'dah, which is a finance-motivated oligarchy. Both Jen and I started our characters there, and it was a great choice.
Totally agree. Great choice. And it's also a desert town. Aesthetically, it's not everybody's favorite. I fucking love the desert, so that was not a problem for me. It's gorgeous, and it's got a lot of problems, which is also fun.
But you also get Raubahn.
We love a Raubahn. Raubahn and the Sultana, to a lesser extent, but still very good. Also, Thancred. You get Thancred.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody gets a scion.
A plot buddy.
A plot buddy. And Thancred goes with Ul'dah, and Thancred he's the man.
There's also Limsa Lominsa, which is a former pirate city that is struggling to find its footing in this modern era.
In the post-pirate economy. Very much a maritime economy. Still a lot of pirate people who want to be pirates, but they've got to get real jobs now. So that's the thing, too, is like all of these cities have their own unique struggles, which will be part of the storyline up to level 15. But I think, honestly, it's just like aesthetics. Like if you're a She-Farin, Old Salt or whatever, then like Limsa's going to be your jam. People tend to hang around the Limsa Aetheryte Plaza. That's like the place to be and to see and to be seen. So if you want to be that guy, then by all means.
That is pretty consistent across data centers.
Isn't that funny?
It's a night. Somebody explained it as a very centralized Aetheryte to get to the market board, to get to everything that you need.
It's
the
so
fact
convenient.
that it's right next door to the market board and the marketplace makes a lot of sense. Also, it feels like Ul'dah, that Aetheryte Plaza, to be like a hub for players doesn't make any sense because it's like enclosed. So it feels weird. But also, like that's why I like Uldah's Aetheryte Plaza, because it feels cool. And Gridania, it's just not big enough. They've got the little like wooden platform, and it's just not big enough to like gather. There's plenty of it, but there's something about Limsa.
Speaking of Gridania, the third option is that this is a formerly xenophobic forest city that is
formerly. At this point in the game,
they have kind of dropped that a little bit.
A little bit.
It is no longer a front and center concern.
You'll see it pop up in some of the side stories and stuff. There's still a lot of racism towards people who are not Gridanian. Even if you're Elysian, if you're a Duskwhite, you're going to experience some discrimination. You'll feel it.
It is trying to resolve the tension between its mandate to coexist with nature and trying to adapt to modern pressures.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But if you want to start playing this game as a healer, that would probably be your starting location because Conjurer is there. But you can do a little bit of healing through Scholar.
It's okay. You can change to Conjurer later on.
Yeah.
You're not stuck in the forest.
But if you want to, you can, again, create another character and then play it like the Gridania line, the Limsa line, just to see it all.
Totally.
And we did.
And everybody should play as a Lala at least once in their life.
Yes. So true.
But it is worth it, frankly, to create a character that starts in each of the cities because the stories are very different. And then you get to figure out which one is your favorite.
In photo mode, Lalas are the really great emotes as well. If you like taking pictures of yourself, yes.
Frankly,
there is so much pro Lala bias in this group here. And I'm a Lala main, which is ironic, I think.
You started as an Aura male.
And then I ditched that
like,
shit.
This doesn't feel right.
This guy's got to stick up his ass.
You went like literal opposite. And you went to Lalafell and you're like, this is the jam. Yeah,
yep.
It totally.
But the question is, did you go for the smallest Lala?
No, because the textures get squished enough on the big Lala. They don't have to be smaller.
Okay, so yeah, I went with the largest Lala for an alt.
No, that's still very small. That's plenty small.
Yeah.
I need to see some detail on my armor. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a lot of Lala love here, but no, I'm totally a Makote femme main. Yeah, I'm cat girl. I have the one brain cell. That's it.
The last character creation option that is worth talking about is the patron deity. You get a list to choose from. These do not matter whatsoever. It's pure flavor.
Yep.
Pick what you like the sound of, the way that you like their sigil, if you like their color scheme. I picked my first one based on like the color scheme actually for my character. It turned out to actually be like the patron deity of the Lalafell. So that kind of worked out into like reverse compatibility.
Nice. Yeah.
Anyway, it does not matter. Pick what you like. It will not ding you at any point in the game.
Not at all.
I actually thought it did because my brain went straight into like tabletop style character creation.
Oh, totally. Damn. Yeah.
It's all flavor for you.
Correct.
I picked my god based upon what I vibe with.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh wait, I have to pick a birth date? What?
Like I picked my own.
Yeah, basically.
That's as close as possible because it's...
And then you pick your credit card number.
Your pet's name, your first pet's name. Is that what it is? Yes. That's what you name your chocobo. It's your first pet's name.
That is the highlights of the character creation, just stuff that you might want to know before going in, or maybe calming some FOMO fears after you've made your character and are wondering, did I fuck up? The answer is no. It's hard to fuck up anything in this game. It is very forgiving.
Yes. Look around and see what other people are doing and go, ooh, I like that. And ooh, I like that. And then you can ask all sorts of questions. Oh, but wait a minute. You can't. You can only in the say chat.
Yeah.
So you can let everybody know your question.
Yeah. So everybody in like your immediate area, you can just be like, hi, guys. I have a question.
And then people will be like, what's up?
I have say set to like a different chat window. I will miss a say. Maybe when we get chat bubbles, I'll see it. But when I see say chat, it's like an hour later.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have it like in the exile corner window of my screen.
Well, Levi won't help you.
I will not.
Or you just walk up to somebody and you like do an emote hello at them. Because that's happened before to me. Like they'll wave and I'll wave back. And then they start asking me questions.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can totally help you. I think. Maybe.
So next up is a primer for major gameplay elements. Again, not an exhaustive guide. There is more to know, and you'll learn a lot more as you play the game, but this is hopefully enough to be dangerous with.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about how the different quest types break out. Everything in this game is done through quests. You have to quest to do literally anything. All unlocks are done through quest as well. There are 3 main categories of quest. The first one is the main scenario quest, or MSQ. We talked about this beforehand. It has a like meteor flaming outline around the MSQ icon. NPCs with this icon will advance the MSQ. This is how you progress through the game as a whole.
And also, if you do get lost, there's usually a spot on your screen that you can go to, like a rectangular box that wherever you placed it on your HUD. If you click on that, it will show you where you are in that chain, or you can go back into your journal and then click on that. If you already have it unlocked, you go into your journal and see where you are in that setting. So that's pretty easy to keep you on track with the MSQs.
Yeah. And if you get lost on side shit, you can always just click on that button and it'll tell you, like, this is where you left off. Very, very user-friendly.
Speaking of finding stuff, if you click on your quest tracker, it will show you the map location that you're going to. I think that the game does this in the tutorial, but just in case you missed it, click on that quest tracker and it'll show you exactly where to go. It is hard to get lost here.
Yes.
The second category is blue quests. Blue quests will unlock new mechanics. You should do most blue quests when they appear. They give you essential features like the mount mechanic. They give you the glamour mechanic, all sorts of kind of quality of life and just like game functionality features are kind of staggered through the blue quests. They also can unlock things like side dungeons and other content that's appropriate for your level. Blue quests, though, they are side quests. They are recommended but not mandatory to proceed through the story, though you should do most blue quests when they appear, in my opinion.
Yes.
The problem, though, is that blue quests also unlock new jobs, so there's no way to differentiate like a new job unlocking blue quest from like, hey, here's how you can get a mount unlocked blue quest. However, point of reference, a new job will appear in the corresponding guild for that job. So if you see a blue quest inside a job's guild, that's probably the quest to unlock that job.
And also, some of those blue quests can be multiple parts, so you might not know where they're going. This is the case, especially when you get into the Allied Society, formerly known as Beast Tribe quest, that you may not realize you're unlocking the sequence of those things until it's suddenly unlocked. And that was the case for me in some of the later expansions where I didn't know how to unlock some of those because I didn't go to that plus quest, that blue plus quest. And it's just, you're like,
oh, it's been here this whole time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That flopping Namazu is a plus quest.
What am I getting into?
Those are spoilers. So yeah.
We'll Google that out.
I think that's safe enough.
Yes.
If there is something called a Namazu that's flopping. I think that's,
Okay.
that's safe. Finally, there are the pure side quests, which have a simple gold, beige, whatever, very kind of dull gold border. For first-time players, I personally recommend skipping these quests, at least until you make some progress in the game. These are where you find like the kill 5 bears, collect 10 grapes, whatever type quests.
Pick up all the shits,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
They are
Do
like
my job for me.
the MMO-ass side quests that are very tasky. They are very light on story, though the expansion side quests have a lot more story contained than A Realm Reborn does. Anyway, there are so many of these. They do not contain anything critical. You can always go back and do them again. So I recommend that you follow the main content first, and then if you feel like taking a break, then do some side quests if you are so inclined.
It also helps with leveling up other jobs. That's what I did with the current expansion, is that I was running like the main scenario quests on one job, running a lot of the blue quests and side quests on another job, dungeons on another job.
Yeah.
So
You're distributing the XP as you need it.
Because as Levi's mentioned before, you get a shit ton of XP in this game just by running through the story and side quests.
Just the story. You're going to be leveling like a motherfucker. And then side quests they're leveled appropriately. So if you start a brand new job, there's going to be a ton of side quests that are level 3, 4, 5. So you can get XP that way. And also money.
Another big thing too to keep in mind, because the way the journal system works in this game, you can only have 30 quests up at a time. And this game gives you a ton of quests. So just fair warning. Yeah, I kept filling that all the time when I was going through ARR and Heavensward, because I was just like, oh, I need to go do this extreme. What's an extreme?
Oh my God.
And that kind of thing. And I just kept it open. I didn't think to go and just like abandon it and start it over later.
Oh, you'll hoard quests.
Yeah, you can abandon any quest. There's no cost for doing so. It'll appear back on the map for later collection. Feel free to purge that quest log of its garbage if you picked up stuff you don't want to do.
Yes, please do that, because you might not be able to unlock your MSQ stuff.
Once again, you cannot fuck yourself over in this game. You cannot make a bad option or do a bad action that will punish you by denying you content. So feel free to follow your heart.
Yeah.
Go pick up that poop.
A special category of Blue Quest are the job quests. The MSQ will point you towards your starting jobs guild, which will in turn give you your first job quest. After that point, a new job quest will appear every 5 levels through A Realm Reborn. So levels 1 through 50, you get a new job quest at every 5 marker. In general, always do your job quest at the first convenient time for you. So when you hit level 10, go back to the guild, do the job quest. Level 15, go back to the guild, do the job quest. These give you new abilities for your job, and they give you new gear for your job for quite a while. So they're essential to progressing yourself through the game. Always do your main jobs quests.
And the job quest is tied to those skills through Heavensward, if I remember right. Or maybe through Stormblood.
Through Heavensward at least.
Yeah, because I remember people were like leveling their gatherers. Like they were capped at level 100, but they had stopped doing the job quests like back in The Realm Reborn.
Bro.
So there was somebody who did not have Luck of Pioneer or Mountaineer unlocked, which is a level 55 skill, which is really helpful for finding hidden nodes.
Yeah.
When you're out gathering.
Oh my God. How are they? It's like having both of your hands tied behind your back and trying to mine ore.
Yeah, you're just crossing your fingers that the ore is there and that your perception is high enough to see it without this skill. And it was mind-boggling to me. Like, just go back and do it.
Do your job quest. There's no excuse. Do your freaking job quest.
Yes. And thankfully, they kind of walked away from that system later. But it's really interesting that you could actually run around with a level 100 thaumaturge.
Yeah.
After you gain the ability to switch jobs, which happens very early on, like around level 10, I believe, you do the same thing with other jobs. So if you begin as Thaumaturge and want to try being a Lancer for a bit, you just go to that corresponding guild, accept the blue quest there, And then as you level Lancer, do that job's job quests too. Again, same thing. You get all of the stuff for that job through the job quest. You cannot skip these, non-optional.
Yep.
Despite being blue.
And also, like, there's episodes on all these jobs, too, that are later. Keep in mind that when there are jobs where once you hit a certain level, you then can go upgrade to the next step. So, like, Conjurer goes on to White Mage. However, you have to equip your job stone. If you do not equip your job stone, you are still a Conjurer. Yeah, I did that by accident. I was leveling Conjurer and did not.
You just kind of go and you go and you go and you're like,
and I hadn't unlocked White Mage, and this was recent even, and I was like, oh, I'm in a deep dungeon now as a Conjurer at level 50. I'm missing certain key spells here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you unlock job stones for your job, always equip them and update your gear set to have the job stone in the gear set. Essential as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do note that because this game is so generous with experience, you're likely to level past that threshold, which is 30, before you unlock the ability to even do the Jobstone quest. So just bear in mind that there might be a delay between when you hit level 30 and finish your kind of basic baby class job quest before you can take the next step. You'll have to go back to your trainer after a certain MSQ threshold. I believe the game tells you when that is eligible. Either way, though, you will hit like a brief wall where you can't advance your job further until you advance the MSQ further.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Now that you are jobbed up, let's talk about some types of group content and group etiquette.
Don't be a dick.
Done.
Just wave. Do like the little circle and / That's enough. Or
No,
I'm sorry. The O and the / That's what it is.
Yeah. Just like a Heidi ho or a hi. Just, unless you're on console, it's hard to do sometimes to type, right? You can't. Well, you can't say stuff.
No, well, it depends because if it's on PS5, it keeps like your previous words that you've used.
Oh.
So all I have to do is just at least hit the one first letter.
Oh, okay.
And hit H, and then it shows hello, and I select that. So it's just a couple of button clicks. Yeah. So it's not super hard. I just can't
get a keyboard.
Yeah. Or yes, that's the other key thing, which we'll bring up later. Yeah.
So the first piece of group content in the game is going to hit you around level 16. This is the first dungeon. You might come across a blue quest, which unlocks a game mode called Guild Hests, which is kind of deprecated, as in it's still in the game, but nobody really does it. If you want to do a couple of Guild Hests, enjoy, but bear in mind that this is very dated content.
You don't get a lot of XP out of it.
No.
But you do get an achievement.
Great.
So yeah, if you're a Chivo hunter, I guess. But the Guild Hests, they last 30 seconds. And the queue times are still really fucking long.
Yeah, not a great idea for a free trial player because it's better to kind of have people that you can just meet up with.
The first proper piece of group content, though, is a dungeon, which you will unlock through the MSQ around level 16. You get more dungeons as you go through the MSQ, and at certain MSQ thresholds, they will trigger several blue quests for side dungeons to appear. So essentially, play the game, play MSQ, access group content that way.
And I think before you can even go into that first dungeon, you have to do the Hall of the Novice quest stuff.
It will point you to the Hall of the Novice. So Hall of the Novice is the name for the tutorial area. There is no mandatory tutorial that you get at the beginning of the game. The game will give you tons of pop-ups, sure, saying here's how you do things, but you're left to kind of experiment solo for a while before you get your first group content tutorial, which is called, again, the Hall of the Novice. Mm-hmm. This place is a physical structure that's located very close to the first dungeon. And also at the adventuring guilds at every major city, you can find a guy called the Smith who will teleport you to this content as well if you want to get there from elsewhere. When you get pointed to the Hall of the Novice through the MSQ, do it for sure. Not only does it contain good lessons for beginning players and also give you kind of a feel of group content before you're forced to play with other players or NPC companions even. It's a very kind of on the rails tutorial. It also gives you excellent gear for this level and a ring which boosts XP gain until level 50. So even if you're a pro player, worth it alone for the gear.
True. Yeah. I mean, if you're just brand new to the whole, I don't know, the whole vibe, you want to learn what all of these different symbols and markers and things that are going to happen in boss fights, so that you know how to react. Do you run away? Do you run towards it? Stuff like that. Just learning the heuristic of the game itself. The Hall of the Novice was really, really valuable in that respect. And yeah, you get so you can do it as you learn tank shit, you learn DPS shit. I don't think, is there a Hall of Novice for healers?
Yep.
Sick. Yeah.
And they all have their own different glam style.
Yeah.
So your tank looks like solid armor.
Yeah.
And it's a magic. I think no, the DPS have the same one, but you get like really. Oh, it's such a great glam.
It's
DPS.
such a good
It's so
glam.
good.
I wore that glam for a really long time because it
Same.
looked so good for
Same.
early game stuff.
Yeah, it does.
So like if you want to look a little different from the trash around
Your
you,
potato farmer armor. Before then,
yeah, it's good looking stuff.
Everybody has
recommend.
wide hips in this game in Realm Reborn.
Yeah. But absolutely do it. Do yourself and your fellow players a favor by doing Hall of the Novice. Yeah.
And after you get to level 50, I don't know if it's locked behind the level or behind level 50 MSQ. Either way, around then, there is a round 2 Hall of the Novice, which explains more advanced mechanics and gives you another sweet ring that you will want for a while longer. So go back there at level 50 and do the advanced tutorials and get yourself some good gear, if nothing else.
And that's new as of, I think, 7.0, the
Yeah.
Dawn
Yep.
Trail expansion. So
Yeah.
because that was not there when I did the original free trial.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so you have done the Hall of the Novice and you're all set for your first group run,
Woo.
except you don't have to play with real people still if you don't want to.
Yay!
Because as of this recording, all content up through level 50 and much of it beyond level 50 has the option to run through with AI-controlled companions. I find playing with other players to be much more fun, personally speaking, but if you want to chill alone, if you don't want to feel rushed or just, want to take your time in ramping up in the game, you can play with AI companions. This is called the duty support system. And they will go at your pace. It'll pre-fill your party with 3 AI players that match the combat roles that you are not playing yourself.
A key thing with running with duty support, because I did do that through my the majority of my free trial play, is you have to aggro everything yourself. So if you're running through duty support as a healer, you have to aggro before the tank gets there. So you are pulling mobs, which then can also create the bad habits when playing with other players, which
Don't do that. Don't do that with other people. Don't be a healer and just run ahead of people because that's what you learn doing duty support.
We'll talk about role stuff in a bit, but yes, don't do that with real players.
But something to keep in mind, and also it's an opportunity to go at a slower pace. You can see the notes that are placed throughout the dungeon. And then also when you do get to Heaven's Ward, they've actually changed the NPCs, so you're not actually playing with the characters that you are traveling with at times. So it's not just a random, eager scion that will show up. It's going to be this character that you have been with.
Yeah, the named character, which is also kind of a vibe. It's great, especially in the later expansions. You get you kind of I don't know, form these weird relationships with these characters, and so to run dungeons with them, it carries a little bit more weight narratively when you're able to play with the characters that are with you.
It adds so much more flavor.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that's why I enjoyed about running it, because then when I started running it with other people, they're just racing through this because they're getting it on a roulette through the duty finder.
This is the 27th time they've done it.
Yes.
But if you're playing with the actual characters, then you get some flavor dialogue from them as well. And it just feels a little bit more special because you get attached to these people.
And at some point, they'll also let you choose between the different characters.
Yeah, I'm going to run with... Yeah. And I don't want to run with...
That may be a spoiler.
Mm-hmm. So you have to Moogle me out.
I will do so.
Yeah, and it's it's a lot of fun. It adds a lot of great flavor and ability to play it on your own. And I do recommend it at some point, whether you're nervous about it. But just keep in mind, though, these dungeons are going to possibly be twice as long compared to running it with actual people.
Yeah, and so if you're oh my god, this is taking forever, that's why. But there's like there's Easter eggs in a lot of these dungeons, like little like Janelle said, these like little notes and things. If you're running with people, you're gonna run right on by. They're not gonna stop and let you read this stuff. There's just extra lore and flavor. You can.
If you ask, people will stop in general, but if not, then they will keep going probably because they've done this before.
Yeah, I mean, always ask, and people are generally pretty awesome.
And also, not everybody is playing this necessarily for the first time. So even though it looks like somebody is coming into the dungeon for the first time, they can't assume that this is actually your first time.
Right.
Because people like their alts.
Yes, correct. And
So
sometimes
speaking-
I like people being bamboozled into thinking that I'm brand new, because that also does it takes a lot of pressure off.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I can suck, and I got a sprout. Look at, I don't know what I'm doing. You look at me, I'm watching the cutscene. I'm new. I'm brand new.
Oh yeah, the Sprout memes are legit. They're so good.
So if you want to run with other players and not NPC companions, then you do so through the Duty Finder. This is going to be shown to you as you're going to your first dungeon. You can access this window from anywhere in the world. You can pull it up by pressing I think it's the U hotkey on keyboard, or through your in-game menus if you don't want to deal with that nonsense or don't have a keyboard. Either way, in the Duty Support menu, just check the box by your content of choice and hit join, and you can join from anywhere. You don't have to be outside the dungeon to do so. When you try to join a player group, the game will automatically match you with a balanced party of players. And you can do this even as a free trial player. You can join other players and their parties through this same menu. This is how you will do most group content in the game.
Yep. You'll get very, very familiar with Duty Finder.
Yes. And that's also the good time to ask the questions, especially if you've been playing by yourself, because sometimes they're recommending, learn how to tank through Duty Support. But it doesn't work as well because you're usually doing bigger pulls in those dungeons than you normally would with the NPCs.
Yep.
And so it creates, again, trying to adjust those habits, because those habits come into play, especially with later content.
Yeah.
And people are expecting you to have a little bit more understanding of those jobs.
Yeah. So be transparent. Like, if you're brand new, or you're like, especially with me with tanking, just be like, I have never tanked before, or this is my first time doing this dungeon, or it's my first time doing this dungeon as a healer, or whatever. And that'll change the interaction. And so maybe it'll tell the person tanking, maybe don't pull as much right away, and to gauge how you're doing and all of that. Just be honest with people, because then it's like, we love a new person. Like, oh my God, it's your first time. It's so cute. We love it.
You create a macro that even says that.
Yeah.
And I've done that before, where it's like, I just push the button and it's like, hey, first time,
Yeah.
or
Be patient.
I haven't healed in 3 years.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. I don't know where any of my buttons are.
Correct. And everybody has been in that same boat where we totally empathize, and
and sometimes you also get cat aggro in those groups too. I've had that where somebody's like 1 second, so there's always moments where you might have to wait on another player.
100%. Yeah.
Kid aggro, spouse aggro.
Yep.
Delivery person bringing my dinner aggro.
Yeah. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Gotta go get my pizza. Like, no problem. We'll just sit here and emote. That's fine.
That's what the play dead emote is. That's why you buy that, right?
Yeah. That's like the only emote I'll recommend people buy is the play dead. It's so good.
Yes, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
So when you are in a dungeon, you'll be playing as one of 3 roles. There is 1 tank, 1 healer, and 2 DPS, which is the acronym for damage per second. It's gamer stuff. Don't worry about it. It means your job is to do damage.
I shoot things as machinist.
Yes. The DPS roles primarily are supposed to do damage and not take damage, as in do the game mechanics correctly to not take more damage than can be avoided.
I can't. I have 1 brain cell.
I believe in you. DPS jobs have a red background behind their job icon.
And they also have, in higher end content, a lot more to manage with the damage output rotation. But that's a completely different conversation.
Oh boy, yeah. Then we're getting into best in slot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Healers, of course, are there to heal other players. They have green job icons. They're also expected to do damage during group content too. Healers in Final Fantasy XIV are balanced to be doing damage when they're not healing. So when other players' health bars are in good shape, you should use those damage abilities and then keep an eye on your fellows and switch back to healing as you need to. However, your primary job is to keep other players alive. So if you're overwhelmed by the double duty, focus on healing first and grow into damage later on.
Yep, it's just practice.
And also, it is not your fault when somebody screws up a mechanic. So just remember that as a healer.
Correct.
You can't fix stupid, as the saying goes.
Straight up.
Yeah, I've done that before where I was like, I goof the mechanic and I'm like, I'm sorry, healer. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's not you. I swear to God, it's not you. Because as a healer, you will take that personally. You will.
No experience there whatsoever.
Right, yeah.
Finally, there are the tank jobs. These have a blue job icon. Tanks have a few responsibilities.
A few.
First,
Only a few.
always keep your tank stance on if you are the main tank. In 4-person content, you are always the main tank. Tank stance is an ability that you can toggle on and off at will. While it's on, you get a buff and there will be a UI change that looks flashy. It varies per job, but it shows you that you have your tank stance on, and make sure you recognize this and check for it when you go into a piece of group content because you must have it on when you're tanking. It's non-negotiable. Tank stance increases the enmity, as in the threat, aggro, the terminology varies. It makes enemies dislike you more and it makes them attack you versus other players, which is your job. It's almost impossible to not get aggro when you have your tank stance on. This is not a game where you have to, quote, manage aggro. Just, again, make sure it's on because sometimes when you join group content, it will turn off your stance automatically.
And if you're new at tanking, it took me a while to remember to do that. It's just not an automatic thing unless you've been doing it for a while. But 99 times out of 100, somebody else in the party will be like, tank stance.
And that's all they'll say.
Yep.
And that's all they're going to tell you.
Tank stance. Thank you. Thank you. Got it. Okay.
So having your stance on is half the battle for tanking. Other tank responsibilities include positioning enemies correctly. Since enemies are going to be attacking you, it is considerate to other players to minimize your movement, since your own actions will then translate into enemies following you around, and it will make other players annoyed if they keep on having to chase enemies because you're running around a bunch. You will have to move to resolve mechanics. This is understood and fine, but when you're not dodging mechanics, plant yourself somewhere and stay put. Don't dance around. Don't shift around. You want to be in one place, so enemies stay in one place. A good rule of thumb is to put yourself so that you're standing between the enemy and the edge of the arena that you're in, with their butt facing towards the center of the arena. If you're doing that, you're doing great for positioning. Finally, tanks are kind of like the pace setters of the dungeon. Players expect you to make the first attack when you're in groups with other players. And this is known as pulling, as in you're pulling the enemies with your attack. So other players will expect the tank to take the lead when going through the dungeon and to pull the next group of enemies. This can be a lot of pressure if you're brand new and don't know the layout of the dungeons. It's okay to ask your other players for directions.
Again, just say, I've never done this before. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going, and you'll be fine. People will help you. But that's the biggest source of anxiety, at least for me when tanking, is that I have to know exactly where I'm going. I have to know exactly which mobs to pull. There's like probably some side rooms that you don't need to go in. There might be like some kind of maze-like map and like Hawk Manor. God damn it.
Oh God, Hawk Manor.
Ugh, nightmare. It's
Hawk
like,
Manor, the hard version of it.
There's no, I don't know. Like, and you have to get all of these like little keys and stuff for all of these little doors, and some of them you don't need to get. And the whole time you're thinking like, I hope I'm doing this right, and people aren't judging me for going down like a door or a hallway I didn't have to go down. No one's really judging you. Of course, there are assholes, but
the tank becomes really important in like what those level 45 dungeons, like the Zamel Darkholds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that difficulty ramps up so
it's
fast.
Such a huge spike in difficulty, especially on the tank for those, because those mob pulls do get wild.
Yeah.
And the healer is working their tail off, especially in the beginning of some of those dungeons.
Yeah.
There's mechanics that aren't necessarily completely obvious, so you might be getting told, hey, you need to position here, there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to take in with the tank side of things.
The last note for now on tanks is that as tank, you have important damage mitigation abilities. you'll get over time 5 or 6 different damage mitts, which are needed to essentially offset the damage that you take as the tank. At the very beginning, these are not necessary to survive any mechanics, as in if you forget to turn a mitt on at the right time, you will not die, but in later content, this will kill you. So learning these patterns early on is helpful for yourself and for your healers. The most important time, though, in dungeons to use your mitt is actually during the small enemies between bosses. Ironically, these small groups of enemies deal more damage collectively than like the bosses do at the beginning of the game. So you'll want to cycle through your mitigative abilities as you're doing the quote trash pulls. Okay, so that is dungeons. In other types of content, there will be 8 or more players. You do not get any 8-person content until level 50. Once you do, the group composition includes 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 4 DPS in general. For everyone except for tanks, do the exact same thing as in 4-person content. There's no real change to your responsibilities or your actions when you play in 8-person content. However, tanks are the exception because there can only be one main tank. There's no like tank swapping for a long time in this game. One tank will be the main tank, as in the tank with the boss's aggro, and one tank will turn their stance off and they'll just act like a DPS. And that's that.
Unless the other tank happens to die and then you're like, oh, I have to tank now.
Yes.
But yeah, that does happen sometimes.
If the current main tank dies, turn your stance on, use your taunt ability to get the boss's aggro, and take over as main tank. You're like the co-pilot tank.
The top DPS will thank you for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you enter group content with 8 players, which means 2 tanks, the etiquette in general for determining who the main tank is that if you want to be main tank, turn your stance on. The other tank, if they are experienced, they'll check your buff bar and see if you have your stance on or not. And if they're feeling generous, they will either just give it to you or they'll turn their stance off. That is a nonverbal communication. If you both show up and have your stance on and nobody backs down, then maybe say, hey, this is my first time, can I tank? Or otherwise just verbally request it. Sometimes a tank will just go and pull. If they're running roulettes for the day and not playing this content for the first time, they may be in a bit of a hurry and not being considerate. Or just on
automatic pilot and they're just not, yeah.
Frankly, if someone else wants it more, give it to them. The worst thing you can do is try to fight over the boss's aggro with another tank. Everyone will hate you for it.
Oh my god, yes. And then you got a boss that's just like spinning constantly.
Yes. If another tank just like pulls ASAP or whatever, give it to them. Don't piss off the group by trying to fight over who gets to be the main character.
Even if the other tank is like your best buddy and you're just like fucking around, the other players will not appreciate it.
Correct. We're not here to deal with your shenanigans. Unless we all know each other, then fine. But.
Just like the healer rescuing you to your death much later in game.
Yes. Good times.
You will not see any 8-person content again for quite a while. That's just the rule of thumb as you go towards that in the future. Next, though, let's talk about the main types of group content, shall we?
Let's.
The first thing, as mentioned, you'll encounter are dungeons.
So dungeon, that's light party content, and that's four players. And that's going to be usually 2 to 3 mini bosses and then a final boss. You are running through a particular area. You're traversing some landscape in a dungeon, and it's not even like a dungeon. It could be like a forest, you know. But there's gonna be a section where you're pulling some mobs, and then you hit like a mini boss, and then another section where you pull some mobs and you hit another mini boss, and then you hit the final boss, and that's a dungeon.
Nice,
cool,
summed up.
And they also drop treasure in dungeons.
Treasure.
Yes.
That's you'll get a lot of gear in dungeons.
In dungeons, there'll be treasure coffers, treasure chests, essentially, that you can right-click or do whatever you controller console players do. I don't know. And it will put into the group kind of grab bag a piece of gear or some pieces of gear. When this happens, you can either click on 3 buttons. One is need, one is greed, and one is pass. Pass means you don't want it. Need means that you will equip this gear on your person. Greed means I'm not going to use the gear, but I might want to desynthesize it, or I might want to sell it to a vendor for $2 or whatever. Greed says I would like the profit, but not the use of the gear. need everything that you want to use. There's no cost to doing so. People will not get mad at you for needing too much. Gear is very low value in dungeons. You're not stealing people's income. So do not feel like you have to limit yourself. In game content, the game limits how much you can take when it matters. Right now, it does not matter. Other players are probably actually like level 50 plus easy and doing roulettes, so they don't care in the first place.
There's other purposes for the dungeon drops as well, but that's not necessary to cover in this. But if the need is only on the job you're running, so if you're running as a tank and the piece of gear drops as a tank gear, then you can need on it. So that's the other thing too.
Oh, that's something relevant to me right this fucking second.
Yeah.
And when I first started, I didn't understand the need, greed, passes self-explanatory, but I didn't understand. And it felt like there was a lot of societal pressure on like which one I pushed. I think I didn't get it. So as a new player, that would be really helpful. Basically, need is like your priority because it's a like Janelle said, like this is a black mage item. I am playing black mage right now, so I need this. And you greet it if it's like, you know what? If I get it, great. But if somebody else in the party needed it, they will get first dibs essentially. So.
And when you mouse over the gear, it'll give you like a comparison to your current gear. So if it has bigger stats, it'll show like a green plus, I think it's green. Mm-hmm. Next to the stat, it'll improve compared to your currently equipped gear. We'll talk about gear in a hot second. So if there's green and you can equip it, then probably need it.
Yeah.
Great.
Good talk.
Glad we agree. Yeah.
Also in dungeons, in the early game, there are sometimes branching paths. So if you're the tank and don't know where to go, again, feel free to say, where do I go to the party? And they'll help you out. If you take a wrong turn, no big deal.
Yep.
The other thing that only happens in dungeons are pulling enemy packs. Between each boss, there are groups of enemies that will automatically attack you if you get close. One group is easy to fight. 2 or more groups can be challenging to fight at the same time. Experienced players will try to pull as many packs as possible and fight them all at once because it's faster than doing it one by one. Tanks, if they're experienced, will usually just keep on going until they feel like they've got their limit, and then they'll stop, and then they will use their mitigation abilities to withstand damage from those enemies, and the healer will have to heal them a lot because there's a lot of damage coming in, and the DPS will use their area of effect abilities to burn down those groups. This is called wall pulling, as in you will try to pull as many enemies as you can until you reach a physical barrier that stops you from progressing until you kill said enemies. If you're a brand new tank, you don't have to do this. It's okay.
Yeah, maybe, like go crazy. Find what your limit is. If you're running also with a new healer, maybe also don't.
Yes. So if you are a brand new healer, you should probably say so because the tank's going to probably wall pull if they don't know that you are still learning the game.
Right.
If you're a brand new tank, people may want you to wall pull, but you don't have to. It's okay to take your own pace. This is a skill that you will learn as you play the game more. But again, when you're starting out, take things at your own pace. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you do and die, it's fine. Dying in this game has almost no cost.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for me for dungeons. We don't have to talk about other content very much because we'll not see that for a long time. And you'll be more experienced before you get to it. But just as like a brief rundown, there are other main types of content. They're all 8 or more players. First, there are trials. Trials consist solely of a boss fight.
Yeah. It's
full stop.
It's one arena, one boss, boom.
Then there are raids. Raids are kind of weird at first. The devs began the game by making them like 8-person challenge dungeons, but then they said, screw that, we're going to make them like a series of boss fights. So raids, when you find them, it essentially will be a boss fight that takes place as a sequence in a combined side story. As of this recording, the level 50 raids are in a very weird place, as this was like the first time the devs did this kind of content, and they are very janky by today's standards. I recommend that brand new players skip over doing the level 50 raid series synced, as in at the proper level. I highly recommend that you come back at like a high level and stomp them, or find other players who will run you through them at like a higher level, because the story is good, but the synced content is rough and you will probably not be able to clear them, period, because no one queues for these like other pieces of content.
Yeah, like by accident. People go into this, they create a party. You have to be very, very intentional when you get into the level 50 raids, because they are really hard. But like, yeah, the story is super, super, super good. You don't necessarily have to do it contemporaneously.
Yeah, recommend you come back at high level or have high level friends to run you through this. That's level 50.
And that's also, then talking about high level friends when you're on the free trial.
Yes.
Is basically like if you're on like our Discord server, you can say, hey, can somebody help take me through this?
Yep.
Yeah.
And normally there's like 2 or 3, you only really need like maybe 2 or 3 people.
Yep.
Like with max level to run you through it.
Yeah.
And you can see the story. Or you can listen to the episodes later on where Jen and Levi experience these raids.
You never have to do it because we'll tell you about it. But
Incorrect.
You should do it. You should absolutely do it.
That is called the Coils of Bahamut. This is the level 50 raid. Just heads up in advance.
Yeah, if you go in there, try it, and you're like, holy shit, this is really hard, and you hit a wall, that's by design. You're not bad. It's just really hard.
At level 60 and beyond, they figured their shit out and raids are normal. You can play level 60 raids at level synced, no problem.
Easy peasy.
Can and should.
Yeah.
But raids are always optional. Never required for any reason.
Strongly recommend running those synced. I made the mistake of running the Heavensward ones unsynced, and then those pop in for roulette, and you're going, I don't know what's going on.
The final main category of content is called an alliance raid. This is content for 24 players at the same time, as in 3 parties of 8 players. This is not challenge content. You can and should play this as soon as you unlock it at the proper level. And in fact, the level 50 alliance raids are required to progress the game's story. This will not be for a long time, though, if you're starting out. You'll have plenty of experience before then. But just know it can be intimidating to have 23 other players show up with you in a giant dungeon. The good thing, though, is that there's so many players, so nobody cares about you. If you mess up, chances are other people messed up too at the same time. And no one will notice because there are so many players here that you're like a blip on the radar.
It's just madness, just pure chaos.
And
Dead bodies everywhere.
also these players have run this alliance raid
over and
over and over. So if you don't understand the mechanic, don't worry about it.
Someone else will pick up the slack.
Yep.
And then they'll res you.
Just stick together, follow the main group, and you're good to go.
Yep. And also a thing that I didn't pick up on immediately because I was new and these things are not instinctual. When you do alliance raids and there's going to be three full parties, there's going to be a party labeled A, labeled B, and labeled C. Take note of which one you're in, because that may sometimes the parties are going to be split up into 3 different areas in the dungeon. So just make sure you're following your group where you guys are supposed to go. So A is going to go to the left, B is going down the middle, C is going to go all the way right, or whatever. So just pay attention to that because it does matter sometimes.
Next, let's talk about communication in group content. There are 2 types of chat you will use in group content. Party chat is to talk to your same party of 4 to 8 players. Just type /party space, then the text you want to communicate.
You could also just have a chat window dedicated solely to party chat.
Which I do.
Which I do too, yeah. Because that's if I'm talking to anybody, it's going to be my party. And
yeah. Alliance chat works the same way, but it talks to a full alliance raid.
So all 3 parties.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you're in alliance raids, do not try to /alliance when you're in a smaller party. It will not work.
It will also not work until the alliance raid actually starts.
Right, because you haven't been divvied up into your different parties. Yeah.
So just you have to wait until everybody starts moving.
At that
around.
point, you just use shout or say, probably.
But gotta use say.
So in general, use party chat for the majority of group content. Even in alliances, you can talk to your immediate bros and not like the whole group if you want to keep it tight. If you have one default chat mode on, it is party. Do not use /say, which is the game beginning default chat mode, to talk to your party. Like I mentioned, I have my say chat off in the corner. I don't pay attention to it. use party, it'll be much more visible. I have personally changed my chat settings to play a sound when someone does a party chat or an alliance chat.
Yeah, because that's relevant to my interests.
Yes. I highly recommend you turn on notification sounds for those two chat types because people might say, hey, tank, turn your stance on.
Or I need to deal with my cat for a minute. Hold on.
Yes.
Or whatever. Yeah, so it's your responsibility.
It could be just let me die and don't res me for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And like, whatever floats your boat. We're here to help.
Okay, next up, gear and drops.
We already touched some of that, yeah.
Gear is unfortunate in that it gets very easy to use after you get past level 50, but it's kind of a mess up to level 50, which ironically, of course, is the opposite of your growth cycle. At the very beginning, gear can be a little bit confusing, and for that, we are sorry.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
You get gear from quest rewards and from dungeons primarily. If you're a crafter, you can craft your own gear. If you're off the free trial, you can buy gear from other players. Also, NPC vendors will sell kind of like shitty catch-up gear. If you have not gotten like a drop in a slot for a long time, you can buy a decent piece to fill that gap. They're pretty affordable in the scheme of things. But the game should give you the gear that you need through the in-game currencies, not counting gil, up until you get to endgame. The MSQ and the job quests will give you gear up front. And after you get to level 50, there's a special like catch-up gear for players who are leveling anew. It bypasses the gear grind for a given expansion and gives you the best gear for that expansion once you hit the level cap of that expansion. This is bought through a currency called Tomestones of Poetics. You'll earn these once you hit level 50, not needed for now. As you're leveling up, though, you'll need to figure out what gear makes sense for your character, and gear in the beginning of the game is pretty much wearable by most jobs. Now, how do you determine if a piece of gear is good in A Realm Reborn? When you mouse over a piece of gear, it'll give you a pop-up that tells you its stats. First off, the overall summary of an item's power is its item level or eye level. The higher the better. Then, it's got some stats on it. In later content, you will be literally unable to equip gear that is not good for your job. It will not let you. However, A Realm Reborn is a bit more of a free-for-all. So here is the stat rundown. These stats are strength. This is needed by all melee jobs, including tanks, for damage. Dexterity. Ranged jobs and ninja want this for damage. Vitality increases your health. All jobs want this. Intelligence increases damage for magic DPS jobs only. That's Summoner and Black Mage from the starting jobs. Mind increases damage and healing for healing jobs only. Healing jobs do not benefit from intelligence, they benefit from mind. Next up, there are a pile of secondary stats that are probably too detailed for us to talk about right now. Just bear in mind that you can worry about min-maxing later on. For now, it's all good. Crit, direct hit, determination, all of it's good. Get more of it.
Yeah, right.
Piety is not super important in general, so don't worry about piety unless they change the balance after this recording. So piety, give it a miss. Also, bear in mind, you can mouse over the stat on your character panel, and it'll tell you what it does and what jobs it's good for. To sum it up, equip the piece of gear that has the highest stats that are good for your job. Finally, there is the materia system. Materia is items, kind of like gems in other games, that you attach in certain slots in your equipment. You'll get a tutorial for this as part of the MSQ, so it'll send you where you need to go to learn about materia. Just note that materia is optional, mechanically speaking, until you reach the end game. At end game, you want it. On the way there, it's helpful, yes, but not required to function.
The key thing to think of with the dungeon drops and gear is that you're going to get a lot of it. You're going to take up your inventory space because you only have limited resources in there. So you don't necessarily need it. There's other ways that the game allows you to get rid of your gear, like a system called desynthesis that you'll learn at some point in Realm Reborn. You can also do these as Grand Company turn-ins, which is talked about in a later episode as well. in the series. And so there's different ways to get rid of that dungeon gear that you don't necessarily have to just dump it, but it will take up a lot of inventory space.
Yeah. You can sell it back to an NPC.
Yep. You just get very little gil out of it. But
but you got to do what you got to do. Desynth is the best way because then you get mats back.
If you're a crafter.
If you're a crafter and you give a shit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't desynth until you hit crafters level 30.
Notably, gear does not come from killing stuff. As in, enemies do not drop gear on kill. You only get it from crafting, quest rewards, and dungeon chests. So don't go killing enemies in the wild hoping to get some sweet gear.
No, you'll get like mats.
Yes.
But if you're not crafting, you're not going to do anything with it.
Enemies will drop crafting materials 99% of the time, which if you are not a crafter and you're not on the free trial, sell those on the market board. Many mats are worth quite a bit of gil.
Hell yeah.
If you're on the free trial, probably vendor them for some pennies, but better than nothing.
Better than nothing. Or just to get into crafting. Just do it.
Also note that if you have a full inventory and something drops, you will lose that item. So always make sure that you have open space in your inventory. Later on, especially when like important items will drop and be inserted directly into your inventory, you will want that space open.
Okay, glamour system. So the glamour system is a way to make your own character you. That is going to be including pieces that you can craft of like from the blacksmiths, from the goldsmiths that are talked about later on. These can include dungeon drops. Some of these items you can also dye different colors, which you can also purchase from NPCs, or you can create those yourselves through your crafting jobs. It's just a way to make your character special and unique compared to everybody else's character. The system does get kind of limited. You only have so many sections of glams. I think it's 20 is, I think, the correct number.
Yeah.
That's only slots you have. And that means that you're creating a glam for, say, your paladin, or you're creating a glam for your black mage. If they're all distinctly different and not having overlapping pieces, that uses up a lot of your glamour chest very fast. So for me personally, I have a few pieces that can be used on multiple jobs because of the way they're designated as like level 1, and they don't have like anything special on it, and they're all dyeable. So that's usually the rules I go with, is it's got to be dyeable. It has to be something that I really, really like, or I can wear it on multiple jobs.
Yeah.
Also with glamours is the thing that shall never be spoken aloud in public places, the mod system that does exist, but we do not, it's not something that is
peril.
Yes. The terms of service is pretty much do not do this. So
I actually have a mod note here just to say, for other people who are coming from other games, like I came from Warcraft, for instance, back in the day, and mods were essential for Warcraft when I played it. That is the opposite here. In Final Fantasy XIV, the devs do not allow mods, period, and people have been banned and will still be banned, I'm sure, for abusing game mechanics with mods, including some high-profile bans of like raiders, for instance. That's a whole different drama subject, but it happens. So the official guidance is do not use mods, period.
Yes. And a lot of the times when you do hear people talking about mods, it's not in those directions. A lot of the time the people talking to me about them are talking about quality of life changes for your own self, or to enhance certain assets of the glamour system.
Yeah, there's mods for that.
Ultimately, even for the cosmetic mods, which are purely like client side, not affecting any like actually gameplay factors, still do at your own risk. But again, they are not required to play this game. There's no reason you cannot do the highest end content without any mods on your system. So just bear in mind that that is the culture here. And also, again, the official restrictions laid down by the ownership. Yep.
Sounds about right.
That is our PSA. Moving on. Finally, we have kind of like a grab bag of life advice here for things to know and keep in mind as you grow. Not all things may make sense or be needed right now at this point in your career, but maybe later on.
Do what you want. Play however you want to play, long story short. Barrel through the MSQ if that's your jam. Ignore the MSQ and do literally every side quest on the map if that's your jam. Craft and gather. The game allows you to do that, so there's no pressure to do anything too fast or first.
You can just skip every single cutscene in this game if you
Also
want
that,
to.
if you hate a cutscene.
But why
skip a
bother? That
cutscene.
is the
Right.
game.
I mean, you're missing out on so much of like what makes the game good if you skip story stuff. But again, they let you do it. So if that's what you want to do, then
You can do it, but for those who are here for the game and not to skip the game, no judgment. Bear in mind that cutscenes do happen in dungeons, especially early in the game when the devs had not yet figured out that people don't want to like pause mid-gameplay for a cutscene break. Other players will wait for you to finish your cutscene. Do not feel compelled to skip a cutscene just because it triggers mid-dungeon. There are a couple notorious points with longer cutscenes mid-dungeon. Watch those. They are story important. Don't skip. If other players have gone ahead, it's probably because they were in like get her done mode and not paying attention. It's unlikely to have been personal. If so, they're being rude and they're the exception.
correct. The default rule, the rule is you wait for people who are in cutscenes. That is it. And if somebody wants to run ahead while people are still in cutscenes, they are the asshole, not you.
Correct.
Yeah.
So enjoy your story.
Enjoy your fucking
It's
cutscene.
why we're here.
Yes.
Also on the story subject, fair warning and also encouragement. In parts of the game, especially in A Realm Reborn, the story does fall down and lag quite a bit. After you finish the leveling experience to level 50, but before you advance to the first expansion, the story goes on for quite a while. There's also points on the way to 50 that do kind of lag. Company of Heroes. There's so much good stuff on the far side.
Just
Encouragement, stick through
deal with
the slow points. It gets so good.
It does.
And even the lows are good.
It definitely took a little bit to get through that story stuff when doing A Realm Reborn.
Mhm.
That was, I had to talk to some people.
I'm like, are we close?
Are we
Like,
close?
What's going on?
And of
Okay.
course, those who've been around for a long time will tell you it used to be longer. And then, and you go, how?
Yeah, exactly. They trimmed so much.
Yes.
But yep, it'll feel like a.
But again, it was the devs kind of getting a feel for how they're running their game, how to make things happen. So they have gone back and done a lot of tweaks and adjustments in A Realm Reborn since it first came out, now a dozen years ago or something, as of this recording.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where they're constantly tweaking, they're constantly fixing and trying to make the game more accessible to more players.
Word.
My final bit for the, I guess, pace of play lifestyle section is to level jobs besides your main role. As in, if you're a DPS for life, you should try healing or try tanking. If nothing else, it will help you understand your role better. You understand what tanks are looking at and how they have to adjust to you, and you will do better at your preferred role if you know how other roles play. There's benefits towards branching out, even if you are a DPS or healer or what have you for life.
100%. And you also have the safety of the duty support system if you want to practice like tanking or healing, which can be a fraught experience if you're doing it with other players. But in duty support, it allows you to make all the mistakes and do all of the experimentation, and you will earn an appreciation for what those jobs do and what they need from the other players in the party as well. So yeah, do that.
And also one more last thought on the pace of play, that because the specific type of free trial is not time limited, you can be in this free trial for years.
Yep.
So you can just sit in here. You can just keep working on that character as you want.
Yep.
So you can go as slow or as fast. You could also just mainline through it and have it done in 2-3 months.
Yep.
But there's no rush. There's no time limit as long as you do the correct free trial. So there's the pace of play is literally what your pace of play is.
Word.
All right, on then to leveling advice. If you are having a hard time following your job abilities as you level up and gain new abilities, sometimes the action tooltips can be a bit convoluted and talk about other abilities and buffs and what have you. There are plenty of job guides out there on the internet that will help to kind of break out your job in more plain language. Some sites even have like a per level job guide. Like at level 30, here's how your job looks. At level 50, here's how your job looks.
Oh, they're so good.
The Balance and Icy Veins are two great websites as of now that have a lot of this kind of job guide information on them that will help you if you don't get the tools you need from the game itself.
Yes, I second that, especially when you get in, if you want to do harder high-end content on a paid subscription, they're very, very helpful.
Yeah.
The game does give you areas to practice your rotations to see if you're getting the right amount of damage done, like later in the game. Not so much I think in Stormbloods when they start introducing this.
Yeah.
But it's so handy to know that. And the game struggles to really help you, like, maximize that.
Yeah, there's no real guidance on like what your rotations should look like at all. And if you really want to make sure that you're in line with the current content, like if you're at level, 65 or whatever, this is really more of a thing for like later game. But I was basically like saying exactly what you just said. So what Janelle said.
Agreed. As far as leveling other jobs goes, you will get more than enough XP to max your main job through the MSQ alone. You will never have to go outside of your main path to gain experience for one job from the MSQ. You can probably level 2 or 3 jobs actually from the MSQ XP alone as you advance in level. For other jobs, though, the main way to get XP is through the roulette system. This is done through the duty finder. And essentially, there are various categories of roulette that will run you through like every dungeon in the game, every trial in the game, etc. And the first time you run each roulette per day, you get a whack of experience and also money. So when leveling future jobs, this is the best way to do it. It'll encourage you to do some content, but not, grind repetitively every day because of the per day bonus. Roulettes also give you your tombstones, which, like we mentioned, that's how you get like the level 50 end game gear, for instance, is through doing tombstone granting roulettes after you hit level 50. More roulettes will be added to your list automatically as you unlock more types of content.
Another thing is when you're like, if you're in a dungeon and you guys are opening up your loot and you haven't needed, greeted, or passed, or you have, and you bail on the dungeon, you're not going to get any of that. You need to wait for everybody to vote, need, greet, or pass. You wait for the loots to get distributed. Then you leave the dungeon. Because there was somebody in the Discord was like, I kept just, I would vote and then I would leave. And I'm like, why am I never, ever getting stuff? It's because she was bailing. You got to wait. So there's that.
And there are going to be some players that are going to try to work that system too. So just kind of get cozy. And once the timer goes off, then everything is done.
The only time that happens is usually in like current content where there are actually cosmetic items more than mechanical items that people will try to like slow vote on to weed out the weak willed.
We hate you.
We do hate you. Don't do that. It's rude.
Everybody hates you.
Just note that if a loot is not being assigned, it's because someone has not yet voted. Either they miss like the pop-up and it's innocent, or they're trying to game you. Never seen it happen in dungeons. Nobody cares about dungeon loot.
Yeah.
It's only for like the high end stuff.
Yeah. So when you're going through any sort of dungeon or enemy type of content, there's going to be times where you're going to have spells cast on you or effects done to you. And these are going to be your buffs and debuffs. Obviously, buffs are things that make you do better things. It could be higher DPS output. It could be more healing. It could be better ways of not getting hurt by the enemies. And there's going to be little icons next to your character name on the party list. So getting familiar with those icons is really helpful, especially if you are somebody who may have to pay attention to that, maybe as a healer or a tank. Some people will reposition that information through their HUD. That's going into the weeds, though, so I'm not going to go into that.
Oh, man.
I'll go into that. Because the default sizing of the debuffs especially is criminally small.
Yes.
And later in the game, like after level 50 or so, the debuffs become essential to fight mechanics. So I highly recommend at some point going into your HUD settings and resizing and maybe moving the debuffs somewhere else, because you will want to see those pop-ups when you get a debuff that will affect a fight mechanic.
There's plenty of videos on YouTube like that will tell you how to do that. The UI, as far as like how to really fine tune your personal experience with all of these options, is insane. You can really fine tune almost fucking anything you can think of in this game. So that's intimidating, but you can, find a video and it'll tell you how you can make all of this stuff, easy to see. And
Yep.
Shit.
And the other thing too, when it comes to debuffs, some debuffs can be removed. So you can cast a spell like Isuna to remove it. Like there are some, and there's going to be like the icon's a little different. There's usually like a little bar that kind of sits on top of those debuffs.
Glowing blue line.
Yeah.
So that's something you can boop.
If a debuff is overlaid with like a white horizontal bar on top, white or blue, blue, you can cleanse that with Asuna. If it has no bar, you cannot cure that debuff through player means.
Yes, not through player means, because there are some dungeons, especially in Realm Reborn, that will have debuffs show up on you that have to be resolved through the environments. That will still come up periodically, environmental debuffs or timer debuffs, things like that. But that's not something you have to think about too hard. And there's usually other visual elements besides the little icon by your name to show what that debuff is.
Yeah.
So they have different ways of expressing it, but that's one of the big things with those items. I don't remember it being as much of an issue with dungeons. It usually becomes an issue with the trials and the raids.
Yep. I've got my positional walkthrough next.
Oh.
You can handle the positional walkthrough.
Thank you. So honored. For melee DPS only, you get a special mechanic called positionals. This is only melee DPS, not tanks. Some of your abilities will tell you that they deal higher damage, also known as potency, when you attack from the flank or the rear. If an ability does not tell you that they have the positional bonus, it does not have one, your position does not matter. To take advantage of a positional attack, you must be standing in that portion of the enemy's targeting ring that is called out by the attack's tooltip. An enemy's front is the front half of their targeting circle, where the little arrows on the left and right side of their circle delineate where the front becomes the flank. The flank is between those little arrows and the blank space at the rear of their circle, and the enemy's rear is the empty space on their targeting circle. If an enemy has a solid circle with no symbols and no empty space on the back, that means that they do not use positionals and all facings are legitimate. So some like stationary bosses or other special fights will have enemies that have a solid circle. Again, you can attack them from the front and still get your bonus if they are that type of enemy. Also bear in mind that you do not have to be in the dead center of the position to get the positional bonus. So the pro melee DPS will stand right where the flank meets the rear, and they'll shift back and forth between them, so they have to move like an inch or so and not several feet to get that positional bonus.
One of the things about the HUD too to keep in mind is you're setting it to what you want on your screen. So it will give you defaults. The defaults are messy. They're not in the most optimal thing. It will give you a lot of things on your hotbar. If you're like me and you play on a controller, your cross hotbar is awful when they throw the defaults on there, so you have to remove it all. Mm-hmm. It's something to keep in mind as you're doing it. Enjoy it. It's great. But you also want to make sure you have like different ways. So everybody has their own setup that they prefer. But going into those hotbars too, there's some people that prefer to use an MMO mouse. So it can be something with like 6 buttons on the side that you can press with your thumb, or 9 buttons or 12, all those kind of things. And they'll use that more for their shortcuts to like one hand the efforts that they're putting into the game. So that's something to keep in mind too, that each person has their own way of setting up those elements that make it easier for them, but may not make it easier for you. But 2 big things that I found with HUDs are pet size and camera angle.
Oh, yeah.
Pet size is big, especially when you get into the summoner class, because that's the pet is the character they're summoning. And so a lot of the times the default is large. And so you suddenly have the butt of a specific potato-shaped summon just chilling there in your screen, and you can't get rid of it. So
Way
that
to keep it low spoiler.
Yeah, I'm doing my best.
An unnamed potato summon.
But you can fix that by doing like it's a / pet size all small if you want. And that's what I've done before. And you can like make that your default. The other thing too is camera angle. The camera defaults to more of like having you as a player character centered on the screen, which is great as you're the main character and you can kind of see the other people's interactions. It's not as great when you get into stuff like your trials and your raids and you're trying to see more of the arena. So it's really handy to play around with your camera positioning, figuring out where that is. I have my camera as low as possible. That was recommended to me when I started doing current content rating. And I was like, oh, it was life-changing. I could see the top of the arena.
Holy shit.
Also, the camera angles and visual you're seeing on your screen may differ between computer and console users. So I played on a PS5 for a number of years, and people would tell me, oh, it's over here, it's over here. And I was sitting far enough from my screen that I felt like I was playing through a tiny viewfinder, like playing on your smartphone screen from like 15 feet away. Now I play on a PC with my controller on an ultra wide screen.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's lovely. I can see everything now. And so that's one of the things to keep in mind is that you may not be seeing the same thing other players are seeing with the defaults or even with their own HUDs.
Yep.
Next tip for all non-caster jobs, but especially for tanks, you will gain a role action called arm's length. This does two things. First, it prevents you from being knocked back for a short time. Second, and this is the unsung benefit, arm's length, while active, inflicts a slow debuff on any enemies that attack you while the buff is active. Slow is a big damage mitigation tool, so tanks use arm's length as part of your tanking mitigation rotation. Sadly, bosses are immune to the slow debuff, so use it on those trash mob pulls only.
Pro tip.
So the damage types in Final Fantasy XIV is a little abnormal compared to other JRPGs or role-playing games you may have played.
Yeah, there's none.
I got that by this. I'm like, ooh, a fire enemy. Do I have any ice spell? It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. I think it mattered in previous times of the like older expansions.
Yeah, the game has been redone substantially, even within the game itself. Balance changes, mechanics changes, etc. In the current version, though, doesn't matter.
There's not as many environmental things to consider either when you're running the dungeons. You might see some wind, you might see some snow. Some of those will give you a brief debuff, but it's very, very rare. It's going to be kind of like the obvious way. So you might see something that's yellow on the ground that's like, oh, this is possibly poisonous. They kind of stepped more away from that in later expansions because I don't remember seeing them as much. They just did it more as like battle mechanics.
Sure, but importantly, though, there's no way to like spec an elemental resistance or to spec for an elemental attack.
Yes.
It's all the same. It's all resisted by your base defense. Like you got two defense types in general, which are like defense and magic defense. And that's all that matters. Enemies, elements don't matter. You cannot change the damage type that you deal. So just press your best attack against an enemy no matter what. Yeah. Use fire on fire elemental guys. Does not matter.
Black mage it all up. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Cast fire on everything.
Fire on everything.
You don't need umbral ice, do you?
Like that one time. Just that one time, and then fire everything.
Yes.
Finally, last thing from me. This will not be relevant immediately, but once you unlock some like timed actions, such as Grand Company turn-ins or your Allied Society quests, anything that refreshes on like a daily cycle, you can see all of the timers and their corresponding actions from one combined menu called the timers menu. If you're using keyboard, the default to get here is Control U. If you're on controller, it's going to be in some sub-menu, I don't know.
Figure it out, controller people.
Anyway, you don't have to go to the place in question to check on the timer or for like the Grand Company on what turn-ins are eligible for the day. You can all do that from the timers menu. It's all easy from anywhere in the world.
In the world?
In the world.
Whoa. That's crazy. anything we didn't discuss today,
just be sure to @ Jen or @ Levi.
Just Jen.
If you want to get in touch with us, you can.
So then, thank you, everyone. Thank you to Jen and Janelle, and thank you to the Discord members who also commented with their individual thoughts and experiences.
We asked the people, like, when you were new, what did you wish that you knew? See what I did there?
Yeah,
I did.
Okay.
Yes,
that was great.
Great.
Yeah,
okay. And they helped us out with a lot of that.
Yep.
So it is a lot. It's a lot, but there's a lot of resources out there too, because everybody wants you to have as good a time as you could possibly have with this game. So, welcome.
Yeah. And everybody's still learning new things as they're going through. They could be playing the game for 4 or 5 years.
All the time.
Yeah. So you're never really going to have it completely down. And that's the nice thing about this Discord server specifically is people are pretty helpful.
Oh, yeah. If they know a lot about some stuff, they're going to want to answer some questions because it just feels good. Like, yeah. Finally, I've been playing this game for 10 goddamn years. I can answer this question.
and they also want to hold your hands in certain emotional moments of the game.
we live vicariously through the new player experience too, because we remember how magical that was for us. And, being there, watching a new sprout go through the game, it just it allows us to it's like going to Disneyland with a 5-year-old. You're seeing it fresh, through fresh eyes again. And please let us help you. And that will do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. If you want to get in touch with us, you can at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at podreturnffxiv. Check the show notes for our Discord, where you can meet some of the people that helped us with this episode. Join us for some group runs, share pictures of your pets, share some memes, talk about, kind of whatever you want. Everybody is awesome, and we would love to have you. And last but not least, our Patreon, patreon.com/podreturnffxiv. For $1 a month, you get access to all the other stuff that we do. That includes our Final Fantasy XI series, Vanadiel Van Splainer, all of the seasonal episodes from 14, and a bunch of other random crap that we've thrown up on there. So check it out. And with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good day or night, and we will see you next time.